Hello, my dear friends. This is Maxine Taylor with the forecast for the United States of America for April 2022. And I have found two charts for Ukraine. I'm going to present them to you. You have a choice as to which one you would like to use. And I'll go into their chart as well. Some of you have said, what about Putin? And my response, of course, is what about him? We're going to move forward in the light. Okay, so let's first of all look at the United States chart. Well, let's start with the sun. And as we know, the sun is the giver of life. In the United States chart for April 2022, the sun is in the 11th house of Congress and congressmen and congresswomen, legislation, all the stuff that's going on now, the Treasury, city and county councils, and our friends, the friends of the United States. So we're talking about groups, we're talking about NATO, we're talking about all kinds of groups. And so here we have this gorgeous sun, the yellow planet, in that 11th house. On the 13th, it moves into the 12th house. Now, 12th house deals with all kind of behind the scenes activities, which of necessity exist. Sometimes you don't lay your cards out face up on the table for your open enemies to read, if you get my drift. Okay, the 12th house deals with bribery, spies, hidden enemies, prisons and jails, of course, hospitals, charitable organizations and institutions, seclusion, the past, secret societies, and welfare. And so on the 13th, the sun illuminates all kind of hidden enemies. I'm going to say illuminates it. It doesn't mean it's coming to the attention of the public, because this deals with spies, not just other countries' spies, but ours. And I feel that by nature, some things need to be private. You don't have to lay out. Does a football team lay out its plan to the opposing team during the game? You know what I'm saying. Okay, so that's the path of the sun for April. Now, I've put the new moons and full moons in because we have an eclipse. And not only that, but because we have a new moon and a full moon. Only this month we got two new moons. So the first one is, well, I can't read my own handwriting. It's April 1st. And it's in, hang on, let me get this straight, because I can't even read my own handwriting. And this is a problem I have. It's in 11 Aries 31. And this starts the talking with our groups, with our friends all over again. And it continues what has already been begun with NATO and with all kinds of congressional hearings and our allies. All right. Then we have a full moon on April 16th. Full moon, by the way, is in 26 Libra 46, for those of you who are astrology students. Again, the April 1st eclipse is in 11 Aries 31. So we've got the full moon in 26 Libra in the 6th house. Now, the 6th house deals with the military, the health of the nation, jobs, civil servants, all civil servants, pets, food, departments like police and fire departments. This sixth house on the full moon is activated and becomes, I won't say explosive, but things there come to a head, whether it's COVID, whether it's workers, whether it's civil servants, you know what I mean? It is activated. So just be aware of that. And then 2 weeks later, we have another new moon, but this one is in our 12th house. And it is an eclipse. It's a solar eclipse on the 30th of April in 10 Taurus 48. And what this means is that everything I just described for the 12th house comes to a head, but we're not going to know it. Now, it's not going to come to a head the way the full moon comes to a head explosively, but on the new moon, energy starts moving forward. Prior to that, for about 2 days prior, nothing's happening, nothing at all. And so it's actually just moving forward, which is, and we won't necessarily know what's going on because it's the 12th house of behind the scenes activities. And I feel like there are going to be a lot of negotiations, maybe with prisoners, because the 12th house deals with jails. Those who, prisoners who are held captive against their will, those American prisoners who have been held captive against their will for a long time or a short time. There can be activity here. So that's really cool. Okay, now let's just continue, shall we? Let's start with Mars, the red planet. Mars is action, it's war, it's what we throw ourselves into. It's what comes first to us. Well, the 10th house is the United States public image. It is also the party in power. It is also the president. And if you've watched President Biden, you know he's letting it all hang out and telling how he feels about things. And with Mars in our 10th house, we are moving upward in the eyes of the world. Hello. I think that's awesome. And the 10th house is leadership, of course. And so there is a great deal of leading. Of course, Ukraine has asked for our help, has asked for the help of many countries. This Mars says we are moving upward. If this were a person's chart, I'd say, go apply for that job that you want because you're moving upward. It's advancement for you in the public eye, in your career. Super. Now let's look at Venus. Love, money, and it's all the good stuff. And so Venus has been and will be in our 10th house of our public image, the party in power, until the 17th, when it moves into the 11th house of friends and group activities and Congress and legislation and all kinds of city and county councils. So this is group activities, it's humanity, and it is humanitarian things and people and causes and organizations. I love it. So, and then the blue planet is Mercury. Now, Mercury is what we think about and talk about. So wherever Mercury is, that's where where our ideas are, where our mind is really filled and active, and where we're running our mouths. Okay, it's in the 11th house. Again, the legislature and legislation, Congress and Congress people, city councils, county councils, and our friends and allies. It starts in the 11th house and then on the 7th moves into the 12th. So there's a lot of talking behind the scenes. And as I mentioned, I have no problem with behind the scenes because football players do not announce their plays. We find out about them when they put them in motion. And this is so that they will win the game. So I understand about that. That is the United States chart. Oh, and I forgot to mention Jupiter. I didn't put it in here. But Jupiter's in our 11th house of Congress and legislation and the Treasury and all that stuff. And Jupiter is the greater benefic. Venus is the lesser benefic. There's nothing lesser about Venus. It's love, it's money, it's beauty. Jupiter is truth, abundance, expansion, and God's law. So, not a bad forecast. Now, what I want to do is talk about Ukraine. And excuse me while I get organized here. I found that there are two charts for Ukraine. The one that is commonly used, and the where I go for my astrological data is astrodatabank.com. Lois Rodden is the founder and originator of that wonderful organization. And I met her many years ago and liked her. And the information that she shares is usually right on because she will grade it A, B, or C, meaning A, it's accurate. Double A, you betcha it's accurate. And, on down the line. The chart that the birth time that she uses, well, not she's no longer with us, of course, is August 24th, 1991, 6 a.m. in Kyiv. I'm learning to pronounce it the Ukrainian way, Ukraine. However, I came across a listing in passing that really spoke to me, and I'm going to show you why. That listing is same date, 8/24/91, August 24th, 1991, but at 5:31 p.m. in Kyiv. 5:31 sounds pretty accurate. So I read what 5:31 was. It is the moment, or was the moment, of the proclamation of independence from the USSR. That really perked my ears up because 6 o'clock in the morning sounds a little bit of an estimate to me. So I'm going to show you the charts and you see if you like them. Oh, I forgot to mention, there was another time, and this is January 22nd, 1918, at 9:58 a.m. in Kharkov, Ukraine. This was the first time Ukraine was proclaimed a free, independent, and sovereign nation. That's the first time in its history. It's got a 6 Gemini 22 ascendant. You know what country has a Gemini ascendant? A 7-degree Gemini ascendant, the United States of America. We have 7 degrees Gemini on the ascendant and Uranus in 8 degrees of Gemini on the ascendant. This chart has Jupiter in 1 Gemini in the 12th house of that chart, 6 Gemini on the ascendant, 6 Gemini 22, and the moon is 6 Gemini 39. There is a real close, tight connection between the United States and Ukraine. I did not do that chart simply because apparently there was a change. And so on August 24th, 1991, in Kyiv, Ukraine, that was the moment of the proclamation. They're not working as a team. The movement, the moment of the proclamation of independence from the USSR. Okay, so I'm going to show you chart number 1 and chart number 2. And I've got everything worked out here. Yes, okay. I'm going to do chart number 2 first because I prefer number 1, saving the best for last. And by the way, this is my opinion. You don't have to buy into it at all. You do what works for you. I tell all of my students, do what works for you because that method is speaking to you. All right. Chart number 2 for Ukraine has an Aquarius Ascendant, 6 degrees Aquarius Ascendant. I think I'll put this here. Not that you can see it, but 6 degrees Aquarius. It has Saturn, the ruler of the ascendant, the ruler of the 12th cusp of hidden enemies in the 12th house. So there's a lot going on in that 12th house. And I've read you what the 12th house means, okay? Uranus, the green planet. And once again, this is chart number 2 for 6 p.m. Uranus is 1 degree behind the 12th cusp. So there's a lot of unexpected activity, rebellious activity going on that people don't see. And then Mars, planet of war, is in the 7th house, along with the vertex, the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury. The 7th house of open enemies, of our international affairs, war, lawsuits, lawyers, politics, the public, contracts, and the lower courts. Okay. So that's chart number 2. Now, there's not a whole lot of time difference between chart number 1 and chart number 2. So what I'm just going to describe for the forecast is going to apply in a great deal to both charts, with the exception, drum roll, of the following. This is chart number 1, and it's busy. I threw everything into it at once. Just don't even look at anything else, all right? Just don't look at the ascendant. See it right there? It is 26 Capricorn. Transiting Pluto is on the ascendant. It's been on the ascendant. Now, right now it is, I think, 28 degrees Capricorn. It's been hovering over the ascendant. And where is that chart? Here it is. I've got charts all over the place, guys. Just bear with me, please. So Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, on the ascendant of the people. It's got a Capricorn ascendant And Pluto has been going up and back over it, back and forth and back and forth. Pluto symbolizes death and rebirth. It is the phoenix rising up on its own ashes. When it crosses your ascendant or the ascendant of a country, it can be a new start. It can be out with the old, in with the new. And so we don't know how this is going to manifest. But with everything that the Ukrainians love, cherish, and value being ripped from them, with Russia right now, even as we speak, murdering children, pregnant women, giving birth because of indiscriminate, or maybe it's not indiscriminate, maybe it's just cruelty. Firing on old people, firing on citizens, leveling homes, starting fires, and threatening. That's Pluto. There's a big change in the personality of the country, and there is a great resurrection, or at least there can be a great resurrection of Ukraine. I love it. So let me tell you what's going on, and pretty much in both charts. Pluto will be on the ascendant, going back and forth over it within 1 degree of exactitude during, of course, 2022 for the rest of the year. It will continue and make its final pass over the Ukrainian ascendant. It will be 1 degree separating September and October of 2023, which could be when the resurrection of the city begins. I don't know how this is going to work out, but that caught my eye. And this is the chart I'm tentatively using because 531 sounds accurate and 6 doesn't. And because Pluto says, yeah, baby. To me. So here we go. Let me get a little organized here. Can't do it totally, but I'm getting there. All right. So the sun is in the 2nd house. That's the yellow planet. 2nd house, of course, is money. What you can hold in your hands. Money, commerce and trade, earnings, savings, finances, debts, the things we own. The sun is there. And so this means that a light is being shined, being shown on this 2nd house of money and goods. And we see it on the news every night. Then, in both of these charts, I'm not putting the exact dates because the cusps, the intermediary cusps are a little bit off. The sun moves into the 3rd house of the Ukrainian chart. This is communication, all right? If they have no internet, no phones, if they can't communicate now, the sun, the giver of life, shines a light on this. News, news reporters, the mail, traffic, travel, neighborhoods, schools, public transportation. It shows that the sun is going to be shining on that 3rd house. There will be communication back and forth from Ukraine, from the people. I don't remember a war in my life, although except in recent times, where People have cell phones and can actually film, they can video rather, the war ongoing. They can stay in touch with their relatives by phone over the internet. Thank God for small favors. I just love that. All right, here's Mercury. Mercury follows the sun, same thing. Mercury is communication. So it's what we think about and talk about. Lots more communication and more asking for more goods, asking for more money. Now, Venus, the planet of love and beauty and art and happiness, is sitting in the first house of the Ukrainian people. It's the attitude of the public and the political attitude of the people and public health. I can't recall a nation that was so optimistic and so supported by other nations. Everybody loves Ukraine except, you know who. What are you going to do? Okay, and then Venus moves into the second house, and that's when the goods start coming in, the money, the earnings, the savings, the banks, the commerce and trade. And so that's going to be happening in chart 1 and chart 2. Mars, the planet of war, is going to sit on the moon in the first house of the Ukrainian people, both chart 1 and chart 2. It's going to make them impatient, angry, etc. And the moon rules the seventh house, their seventh house of international affairs, war, lawsuits, lawyers, the public, politics, the lower courts, marriage. And this is both chart number 1 and chart number 2. They're going to get angry. And the seventh cusp deals with our open enemies. So I guess what I'm saying is we ain't seen nothing yet. You just watch those Ukraine people, those marvelous, beautiful people. They are inspiring everybody. Now, I put Pluto here. It's going to be sitting there for 2 years. The new moon on the 1st is in the second house of money. Good. The full moon on the 16th deals with debts, escrow, taxes, deaths, secrets. The first thing I said was debts, D-E-B-T-S. Then the other similar sounding word, death, and secrets. And that's the full moon. That's when things come to a head on April 16th. And the final new moon on April 30th is a solar eclipse. And this deals with communication and transportation of all types. It deals with neighborhoods and neighborhood matters and schools and public transportation. It deals with communication, people talking to each other. So I hope this is helpful. I worked all this up, and I wanted to hit the high points. So those of you who are from Ukraine, you have the love and support of the people in the United States. We love you. I feel that we are one. I am with you. I know I speak for many, many people who were watching this video. And so I hope this has been helpful. Little tidbit here. Check my website on Friday, MaxineTaylor.com. And so till we meet again, hopefully next month, May the stars shine brightly on you and yours. And may the stars shine brightly on Ukraine.